Hello, welcome to this week's Smash for Switch discussion. Joining me today is Jedi Squid.
Hello.
And Jedi Squid has contributed a number of articles for Source Gaming, including a particular one that's very relevant to today's topic, Snake in Memoram. The article will be linked in the description below.
I wouldn't read it if I were you. It's very bad. Regardless, I do appreciate that you have me here today, and it's really such an honor. I love your website, and I love everything that it's done for the Smash community. And my friends that I go to tournaments with and that I'm involved in the community, they're all really excited that I am able to do this today.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
You made quite a name for yourself.
So today we're going to be discussing Snake's history with Smash, and also if he has a chance of come back in a theoretical Smash for Switch port. So first, let's go on the history of Snake. Do you want to start talking about where Snake came from and why he's an important, iconic video game character?
The thing about Snake is he came from this game, Metal Gear. Not sure if anyone out there's heard of it. Uh,
Probably not.
it started out. Well, I mean, you got a mostly Nintendo audience, but nothing wrong with that. Metal Gear started out many years ago, back in the 80s, Reagan years, uh, when Hideo Kojima, game developer, had to make an action game for the MSX, and this was a computer home system. It was essentially like the Famicom or something similar, but the thing is, it really couldn't have that many sprites on screen without it really slowing down. So he thought, how can I do this without having a bunch of bullets on screen and a bunch of explosions and all that bogging down the speed of the game? And he said, just don't have action in it. Make it a stealth game. The it's the opposite of it's a complete subversion, the typical masculine fantasy, in that avoiding combat, being a pacifist, is the best way to go. And it's really about relying on your wit, and I really like that a lot. Obviously, it got a sequel. A few people know out there that it came to the Nintendo Entertainment System, but I don't prefer to talk about that since it wasn't very good. But I know there are some people out there who think it's good. I'm sorry, but you are incorrect. Regardless, the Sony PlayStation, it made a lot of waves when it came out. This is a big jump forward to the late 90s. This was the only serious competitor to Nintendo since Sega. A bunch of other companies that weren't video game companies tried this before and failed, but Sony, they did it and they were actually able to succeed. And they had a huge amount of third-party support. They had a huge amount. They had Final Fantasy, obviously first one that jumps to mind, and hey, Cloud's in Smash Brothers now, and that's lovely. I'm sure everyone on Newgrounds in 2007 were just going crazy over that, and hey, they're still going crazy over it now. Yeah, one of the really big games that came out the same year as it came out in 1998 with Ocarina of Time and Final Fantasy VII was Metal Gear Solid, and it's general consensus is among those three games, one of those three is best game of all time. And that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy statement, pretty big statement. And I think a lot of what really made Metal Gear Solid so important was that during this time, at the end of the 16-bit era and jumping into the Nintendo 64 era and the PlayStation era and everything like that, 3D was a new thing. So everybody was really trying to kind of recreate movies, and this was a time for video games to establish themselves as an actual form of entertainment, as a legitimate form of entertainment, and not simply puzzles or toys to be used and then finished and be done with. And Metal Gear, it really went out of its way to be cinematic. It went out of its way to tell a good story, and it went out of its way to not just be a game. Yeah, of course, it was a good game, and it was a very good game, but it wasn't just a game. An experience in many ways, and this paid off a lot. It got a lot of sequels, and I've obviously played them all because I'm a very hardcore Metal Gear fan, and I'm very well versed in Metal Gear lore. And hey, 1998, all those games come out. But they're really bad in comparison to Smash Brothers, which came out 1 year after, okay? We all know what Smash Brothers is. Best game ever made. I don't have to say, come on, okay. I don't have to go over the history of Smash Brothers. If I have to go over the history of Smash Brothers, you're watching the wrong video, okay? You're in the wrong place. I'm sorry to say.
You also probably don't know Source Gaming.
And if you don't, shame on you. Go read my article. Okay, don't read my articles. Read any article that's not written by me. I'm sure they're all lovely.
Originally, as you said, there's Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64, but then Super Smash Bros. Melee started development pretty soon after that, and probably late in development, Hideo Kojima actually asked Masahiro Sakurai if he could have Snake in the game. However, it was too late within Melee's development to actually include Snake.
That was a big problem, and they did the same thing with Sonic as well, I
Yes,
believe.
yes. Yuji Naka asked, I believe at E3 2000. We have a timeline. But anyway, so Sakurai then leaves HAL Laboratories. He becomes a freelance employee. He starts sort of limited his private company. Eventually, he was recruited back on to make Brawl, and he remembered that Yuji Naka asked for Sonic, and he remembered that Kojima asked for Snake. Originally, he was only able to get Snake when he first started Brawl's development.
I believe
And
there was a Japanese poll for Sonic among
yes,
Smash Bros. Players, what character they wanted to see most. And apparently Sega rejected it first, but then they decided that that was a foolish decision, and they decided maybe it would be a good idea to have Sonic in Smash Brothers.
I'm not. There's no 100% confirmation on when Sonic was allowed to be
Really?
in Brawl, but
Really?
I believe after they saw Snake's reveal trailer and how it blew everyone's mind,
They were convinced.
then that's when Sega was like, okay, you can actually use Sonic.
That's good. I always assumed that Sonic was a little late, and I'm sure a few others out there assumed that he was a little late in development as well, due to some things like the animations, his kind of last minute appearance in Subspace Emissary, a few other small things, but regardless, I don't want to spread misinformation. That would be against the point of this whole website. That would be blasphemy.
I believe that Sonic was the last character to be added to the roster. He was added after the project plan was already finished. And it's part of the reason why Brawl was delayed, at least one of the reasons.
You know what? I think it was worth it. 3 months was worth a new character.
We have the full translation of Sakurai's comments on Snake and Brawl on Source Gaming, so you can check that out too. Also, we have Snake's comments too. Anyway, so Snake is added into Brawl. Everyone loses their mind. It's amazing. And then Smash for Wii U and 3DS gets announced, and everyone assumes that a lot of the veteran characters will be carried over, especially because Sakurai doesn't like cutting characters. However, we find that Snake's not in the game at all. And there's not really a clear reason why. Sakurai has never commented on it, unlike the Ice Climbers, and he's just gone. We don't know why. So there's some speculation on why he disappeared. One of the main reasons that people think that Snake's not in the game is because of Kojima's rocky relationship with Konami and Konami's politics in general. So as a Metal Gear Solid fan, do you believe that?
Uh, that's a case of, I believe, you're thinking about right now too much. You gotta keep in mind that they come up with Mr. Sakurai comes up with the character lists for these well before in advance. I believe around 2013,
It's August 2012.
August 2012. Yes, this was before that. Ground Zeroes came out, and when Ground Zeroes came out, that was when things really started to show like a rocky relationship right
Mm-hmm.
then. So I don't think that really contributed to it, because before then nobody really knew about what was going on between Kojima and Konami.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think the conditions were really all that. Things really didn't get that bad until Ground Zeroes released, and they shifted their focus to the Phantom Pain.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Phantom Pain was also just an overly expensive game to produce.
Yes, it certainly was. I believe it sold. It was either 2 or 3 million copies, but that was still not enough to break even. I believe that was how much it sold within its first few weeks or so. So it was certainly an expensive game. I mean, you have the Fox engine. You have a whole engine to make, which looks stunning, and speaking as a fanboy, and then you have a whole big open world game to make on top of that, and then you got to hire Kiefer Sutherland on top of that. Pretty, you know. So it's not something that you can do with 10 cents. It's going to take a lot of yen.
I think personally, is that Snake was decided against because of the complications of including him with the new style. With Brawl, I think you have more of a realistic look, and I think with Smash for Wii U and 3DS, he might not fit in as well.
Honestly, I can see that, but I'm not sure if that would be reason enough to cut the character entirely. I certainly see the mindset that you're getting into. Brawl's art style was a bit more watercolor based, a bit darker, a bit more drab, which I personally enjoyed a lot. And granted, I think the fact that this fit the Metal Gear style a bit more well was merely a coincidence for the most part. I think that the Smash Brothers 4 coming out and it having a different art style, I don't believe that that contributed to it. I don't believe that the art style would be a major enough factor, but I very well could be wrong. I thought that you were going to say something to do with the age rating,
Mm-hmm.
which I could see a bit more of.
Okay. When Snake was added into Brawl, Sakurai did make several comments about how he got past the age restrictions. For example, he didn't give him a knife. He made the weapons more comical, so that way they could pass through the both Zero and ERSB.
Certainly, certainly. What I'm wondering is the Smash Brothers games 64 Melee and Brawl released with the T for Teen rating
Yeah.
by the ESRB and whatever their PEGI and Zero requirement equivalents,
Mm-hmm.
may be. But Wii U and 3DS released with an E10 rating. I'm wondering if this was a deliberate move. I'm thinking that it might be based on a few things that have been censored, not necessarily censored, but altered in the new game, such as Princess Peach's skirt
Mm-hmm.
and the Tharja trophy. Funny enough, things like that were more heavily censored in Japan than
Yeah,
America.
Tharja was
Uh,
outright removed.
but regardless, I do wonder if that was something contributing to it. It's hard to think about because I am an American saying this,
Mm-hmm.
and in the American media, things that are like sexuality is often more considered more taboo than violence. So to someone like me, it's thinking, oh, why would that be a problem if Snake was in it? But in Europe, and I can't say for sure in Japan, I'm not completely sure what the deal is there, but I know for sure that in Europe it's the other way around, where violence is much more of a taboo. Frankly, that's the way it should be in a lot of ways, but this is just the culture that I'm in right now.
For Japan, it goes a little bit both ways. Palutena was altered for the Japanese release only, whereas she's not altered in the American and European versions of the game. So, and that was for sexual reasons. However, you have a character like Bayonetta who was made available through DLC.
Throughout the development of Smash 4, Snake was something in a wild card in the way that he's such a special case in all circumstances that nobody knows what to make of him. And because of that, I think in Smash 4, people were so focused on other things. They were so focused on new characters, things like that, that it wasn't necessarily on their radar right then. I believe that when they showed off Sonic coming into the game so early, and that did raise a bit of suspicion. And I believe a year later, there was an interview with Hideo Kojima, and he was asked, "Is Snake in the new Smash Bros. Game?" And Kojima said, "No, Snake is not in the new Smash Bros. Game, not that I know of. But if Mr. Sakurai is listening to this, please put in Snake." So he's definitely the guy that requested. He's definitely that same kind of guy who requested Snake to be in Melee, not knowing that it was almost out. You can see the same kind of personality overlapping there. Regardless, it was not until DLC that people really started to talk about Snake. At least, or maybe I'm just saying that because he really came into my mind during that period. But I think because it was such a surprise that not necessarily a surprise that he wasn't in the game in the way that people, oh, I can't believe this, but it did feel like there was a definite hole missing. The Ice Climbers and Wolf definitely are. It's very sad to see them gone. But those are Nintendo franchises, and Nintendo franchises make up about 80 to 90% of the roster. Snake is the only third party to not be in the new Smash game, and that's very, very jarring. That sticks out like a sore thumb.
Mm-hmm. especially when Snake is such an iconic character.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I definitely think that Snake is an iconic character. One time I saw during the Smash ballot, someone was wanted Shovel Knight to be in, and they made a kind of lineup of all the characters, and it was Mario, King of Platforming, Sonic, like the rival king, Mega Man. I don't know the other king of platforming. They kept going on things like that, and I thought to myself, what would Snake be? The king of shooters? Well, no, definitely not. The king of stealth? Stealth isn't really that big of a franchise. Let's see. Well, and I thought about it more.
I guess like cinematic.
Yeah, really, like it's not that it was. That was the whole point of Metal Gear, that it wasn't completely rooted in being one genre. It was rooted in being a bunch of different things, and I think that's part of what made it so influential.
So do you think that Snake will come back for a Smash for Switch? Recently, Nintendo has acquired the Momotaro no Densetsu license to remake a game for the 3DS. They were able to
Bless you.
purchase that license from Konami. So
Really?
yes, they announced the game in the last full direct, not the Animal Crossing
Oh,
one.
wow.
Yes.
Is that coming out to Japan only?
So far, they have not announced an American release.
Okay, okay. That's something that I've been thinking about, because it's always been very vague
Hmm.
how much, for third party characters, exactly how much involvement from the companies is in it. I'm sure that there's obviously a lot of legislation and paperwork involved, but when actually creating the character, it's unknown how much input. I remember with Bayonetta that Kamiya tweeted that he didn't help design the character.
Yeah, with Sakurai's comments on third-party characters, he has said that the creator must entrust that character to him. I believe there is still an approval process that happens,
Oh yes, of course.
where Sakurai shows updates of the character, or like, is this okay or that okay? Because with Pac-Man, you had a scenario where if Sakurai was not able to get the design that he wanted, then he would have dropped the character.
Hmm. Yeah, honestly, when everyone was speculating Pac-Man, that was the design that I wanted. I thought, why not just go with this design? But digressing, and I know I never do that. The thing is, what you talked about just now, Nintendo temporarily buying the license from Konami. That's the main point that I'm thinking, is that Konami is not interested in doing anything productive that will benefit society in any way, shape, or form. So I'm wondering if they will be willing to license the series off, not the series, but the property off to Nintendo just for representation in this one game.
Yeah, and it would help Konami. It would be in Konami's best interest to license Snake into a Smash game because it's more exposure for their IPs and it's free money basically. They don't have to work for it.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I mean, they're already on a roll with not working for it,
Yeah.
but so that'll just add to it. I think like about a few months ago in July, when they announced, I think it was a Metal Gear zombie game that's coming out. I'm not sure what that's about, but PR representative from Konami US started taking Reddit questions, like, "Oh, good job, that's really going to bring back all your fans." But regardless, I had a selfish motive. I privately asked him, and at some point I'm going to post this because it's not something that needs to be kept secret. I'll post it somewhere if someone needs to see it. I asked, is Konami in a place right now where it's possible for them to license off the Metal Gear brand to other companies such as Metal Gear Rising 2 for Platinum, or Snake in Smash Bros. For Nintendo? They said they weren't able to comment at that moment, which is a standard PR response. So, I made a lot of progress there. But I did want to note that uh, in that same post, the PR representative said that there was, quote, a surprise for Metal Gear fans in 2017, since it is the 30th anniversary of the series. Now, I'm sure that it'll probably be something very anticlimactic that nobody will care about. Or on the off chance that it's something that will make people enjoy themselves, it may be Snake and Smash Bros, and that would be just simply lovely. I would absolutely love that. And then Konami was listed as a Nintendo supporter on when the Switch was initially released, so at least we're gonna get a port of Metal Gear Solid 5 or that other Metal Gear game that
Or
nobody
it could be
seems
a
looking forward
bunch of
to.
other titles though. It could be
That's very true.
the baseball game that Konami has. It's very strong in Japan,
That's very true, and that can't be discounted. A lot of virtual console games have been from Konami have been released on the Wii U and the 3DS as
as
well.
well as the
But
mini NES and Famicom.
the idealist in me that only believes in a narrow set of a very specific logic says it has to be Metal Gear. But hopefully we can get him. Hopefully Snake can be in there. It's the same way that it was about a year ago when everyone wanted Snake for DLC. It was every piece that would be against Snake, there would be a piece towards Snake, and vice versa. And about half of that evidence would prove pointless or not valid. And that's pretty much unlike all the other characters. Like I said before, Snake has such a set of special circumstances to him that he's a real wild card. There's no knowing what the heck the rules are going to be with him. It's not like with a regular speculation where you can say this character would be in, this character wouldn't be in. With Snake, it's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, with Ice Climbers, for example, it's a little bit more straightforward because we know exactly why they were cut. And we can say the Switch might fix that issue.
I'm really hoping that Snake's going to be in the next one.
So I think that basically wraps up our discussion for today. Do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yes, they can find me on Twitter. I'm at Jedi Squidward. I'm not Jedi Squidward on everything, but I also go by Jedi Squid. I frequently go to. I live near Philadelphia, and I'm a huge Project M player. I'm sorry, don't put me in jail, Nintendo, for saying that. I obviously play Snake, if you couldn't have guessed by now, and if Push Dust In edits this right, there should be some B-roll footage of some matches that I've done for the tournaments before, just to have some footage of Snake and Smash Bros. So if you ever want to come out and see me and play my Snake, or if you ever think that what I've said is really stupid so far and you want to come out and beat me up, please get in contact with Philly PM and all those guys there. They're a bunch of nice guys, and please just come out sometime. Really, thanks a lot. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, one more thing I wanted to say.
Go ahead.
Me and my brother and sister were so looking forward to just the idea of Snake being in the next one. We're so looking forward to it. There's a video by YouTuber Rocco Bodie called Solidus, and that is essentially what my reaction would be if Snake got announced in the new Smash Bros. So if anyone wants to look that up, feel more than free to.
We'll be sure to include the links to everything you just mentioned in the description below, so please check that out. You can also follow me. I'm Push Dust In on Twitter. You can subscribe to Source Gaming for more discussions and videos on theoretical Smash for Switch, as well as other things relating to Nintendo. Thanks again for joining us, and I hope you guys have a great day.
Oh, it's been lovely. Thank you very much.